All right, and what can make the third frequently asked question has to do with legislative issues. And this flows very nicely from the question that had to do with why is the difference between these two forms of property important for each of us to understand and to realize, and what can we do about it, okay? The legislative issues is the fact that there is no legislation that protects your right to access your virtual property, okay? You may have a terms of service agreement. All of these you may have. Of course, you will have a terms of service agreement. But the interesting thing to note under these terms of service agreements is the jurisdiction for conflicts. A lot of online service providers, they used to have jurisdiction in the United States, which is great because there are lots of online kind of dispute resolution providers that you could kind of attach to or that the service providers attached to in order to resolve disputes, and that gave people a lot of enforceability access for contractual disputes under the terms of service agreement provisions, right? But that is no longer the case. A lot of the terms of service now are a bit dislocated from the United States. They're either from my experience, they're mostly in Ireland now. So, and there is not typically an online dispute resolution service provider that is regulating or handling those disputes. So that means that it's much more difficult for users to enforce their rights under those terms of service agreements. And it's much more difficult also for users to regulate their disputes with other users regarding virtual property that perhaps has been created or uploaded onto those servers, like images or certain usernames or, trademarked goods and services that are being offered and photos of those. So it is complicated in terms of enforcement. And this is something that we all need to think about for the future. We all have a human right to protect our property interest. First of all, this is like Universal Declaration of Human Rights stuff, UN stuff. We all have a right to enjoy the control of our creations, of our mind and of our work, of our efforts and of our mind. And that is anything that we create that's intellectual property rights protectable for sure. And so it's important that we start to demand that we have access to enforcement related to property disputes regarding content that is protected by those rights, okay? I also, at VIPO, we advocate for a human right to the internet, a human right to electricity, food, water, shelter, all the basic things that a human needs in order to create, okay? So we feel like those flow directly from having a right to control your creations. Well, you should also have a right to the conditions of creation that support creation, and access definitely to the internet and electricity, clean water, and shelter are those basic things.